Hey everybody, happy Monday. Thanks for joining Brad and I for another episode of 15 Minutes of Fame. Brad from Independent Bank and me from Colorado Home Realty. Your realtor, don't forget that, please.
That's right. Very important things.
Yes. So Brad today is going to walk us through the loan process and what it entails. It's spring, people are out there looking, and everybody else who's not looking is feeling a little bit left behind. Let's figure out how to catch you up.
That's right. And happy June. Can you believe June is here?
Gosh, June 1st already. Holy smokes.
It's coming, so it's time to get ready. So yeah, that's we thought it would be a great thing to, this is the home buying season. And what does it entail? What is the loan process? What does it involve? So we're going to get some kind of high points, a bit of a 10,000-foot view for you, if you will, here on how that works. And I kind of like to break it down into a few phases. We've got kind of a discussion phase where we're going to kind of have some preliminary talks about what you're trying to do, what you need to know, that kind of things. Then we'll get into a discovery phase, and then we'll get into a document phase. So those are kind of the three phases that I categorize with regards to getting ready for market. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a discussion. And if that's a Zoom call or a phone call or a face-to-face meeting at some point in time when we're all in a comfortable place for social distancing. But we can do any and all of those things. And we're going to talk things about things like, what's your timeline on when you want to purchase a home? Because you may want to buy a home, but you may know that you have to wait for your lease to end for that to be able to happen. So there's a lot of moving parts there. So we're going to have a discussion around what your timeline is. We're going to have a discussion about if this is your first time buying a home, if this is your 7th time buying a home, just to kind of get, a feel for what you need to know about the process, what you might have already understand about the home buying process, or what you heard from your cousin's brother's uncle, Jeff, who told you something that you should watch out for.
Or your know-it-all coworker.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to have a little Q&A around, maybe some things that you're scared about or something that you heard about. We'll talk through that kind of stuff in our discussion. And then what we roll into from there, Christa, is it's usually more about starting to the actual qualifying process of what's going to be involved with helping a mortgage company make a decision on a loan for you. And some of the components there I'll hit on and we'll circle back around are going to be your income, your credit, and your assets. So those are really the main things that we look at. The fourth component that we look at is going to be the collateral, which is the home. And that, as a buyer, you can't really control that too much except for what you're actually shopping for. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But with regards to still kind of in the discussion category, I'm gonna ask you to apply for a loan. And in that application, I'm going to ask you to tell me how much money you make. And then from the how much do you make, it goes to, well, what type of income is it? Is it self-employed income? Is it hourly income? Is it overtime income? Is there commissions or bonuses involved? Is it salary income? So we go a step beyond to determine the type of income, because there's definitely qualifiers in there of some that we can use, some that we can't use of people's incomes. And that's all things that we figure out in the discovery phase. But how long have you received the income? Is it brand new to you? Did you just get a raise? Did you just go from being in a salary position to being in a sales position, and now you have commissions as part of your earnings? So we're going to talk through all the layers of not only how much do you make, but how do you make it, how long you've been making it, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of files that we look through within the income component. The credit situation, people think it's all about the credit score, and it is about credit score, but there's a lot more to it there. There's going to be also credit depth. How long have you had credit established for, and how many actual trade lines or creditors do you have open and showing on your credit report? That comes into play. I will tell folks, if you're applying jointly, it's not always about the best FICO score. It's about the worst FICO score between joint applicants. We always use the lowest common denominator there.
Mm-hmm.
You might remember that from math class, the
Yep.
denominator. We always use the lowest to drive what the decision and what the pricing is going to be for the loan when that's opened up. And then the next section that we would get into is your assets. That's going to be the funds that you have available to work with from a down payment and closing cost standpoint. Where did that money come from? How long have you had it? Where is it sitting? Is it in a checking account? Is it a savings account? Is it a 401k? What other sources come into play there?
So one of the things that I see often is families want to gift the money, whether it's grandma, grandpa, mom and dad, whatever. Somebody wants to gift the money. And I typically receive this question the first 1 or 2 times that I've met the couple or that we're out walking to look at homes. And I always tell them, always talk to the lender before you deposit earnest money. And if it's given to you in the form of cash, give it right back and ask for a check. But don't deposit
exactly.
anything without talking to your lender. Don't pay off anything without talking to your lender. Everybody has the best of intentions, but these things can actually delay the process and hurt your ability to borrow, right?
Yeah, in some cases, I mean, worst case scenario, there may be a situation where the way that the funds were transferred or obtained or how we're able to document them, it may render them unusable, which puts you in a position where you can't proceed. So
Right.
if we do some discussion and some discovery around the source of gift funds, either before you apply ever or during the application process, we need to bring those things to light so that we can plan accordingly from them, because there's definitely a paper trail involved.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the type of loan and how the money is moving, it can be really involved with how you're proving where the money came from, who gave it to you, that it left their account, that it showed up in your account. And sometimes it's just a copy of the check and a gift letter. So there's variations there, but it's different for each type of loan solution. So definitely bring that to light early in the process so that we can make sure that you can use those funds. Great question, Christa. So,
and you also said it's different in each situation. In some cases, it's a copy of the check and a copy of the deposit receipt.
exactly.
In some cases, it's more than that. They'll want to see a copy of the bank statement that money came from. They don't care about the bank account number. They want to see that it was sitting in there before it left there.
Yeah, that's going to be your government products like the FHA,
Mm-hmm.
the VA, the USDA.
Which is almost everything right now.
They're asking for that additional layer of documentation. Not only do they have a copy of the check, they have proof of deposit into your account, they have a gift letter from your donor, but they also want a copy of the donor's checking or savings account to show that those funds came out of that account and those types of loans. So it's a pretty involved process, and it's like it doesn't exist without the 4 legs of what's required there for it to stand on, like a table.
Exactly. So I come from a telecom background, and when we used to work our trouble tickets, the biggest deal that was always held true is if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. And the same thing here. If it's not in writing, if it can't be proven, it's unusable. It didn't happen.
That's a great point, and that's a great segue into the next phase. So after we have this discussion and talk through these items, we're going to get more into the discovery phase, and we're going to actually have you apply. We're going to have you fill out an application. We're going to get credit pulled, and we're going to actually start matching facts up with, doing math equation and figuring out. And I'm going to basically act as an underwriter at that point to determine, pre-scrubbing to make sure that the way that you stated your income is actually provable. The way that you stated your assets is actually provable. Your credit is in fact intact. So that discovery phase allows me to go through that and start making check marks in those boxes. And then the next thing that we do in the document process is we say, okay, prove it. Give me your pay stubs. Get me your W-2s. Get me your bank statements. Get me your proof of when you were discharged from bankruptcy, whatever it might be, whatever kind of personal things you have going on with your personal financial situation. The documentation phase is just a huge part of the process, not only for you as a buyer, but it's for you and I, Christa, so that we can make sure that we're focusing our time and efforts on situations that we can make happen. Yeah, and manage the expectations there.
So I love that you said that, because some people say, well, I just talked to so-and-so over here at ABC Funding on the radio, and they didn't ask for all that. Now, just because they didn't ask for that up front, they didn't pre-scrub, that's going to be asked for anyway, whether it's now or later. Now, as an agent, I prefer to have that stuff asked for ahead of time. I prefer that the client, the buyer, is pre-scrubbed for underwriting, just like you're describing here, rather than putting them under contract on a home and then finding out while they're under contract that they don't qualify for the loan because the discovery wasn't proven.
Right, and I think that separates the difference between someone being in a transactional relationship and situation and a relationship situation. Because if you want people to take care of you and take care of you the right way and be your guide and take care of you now and in the future, then you really have to let them get to the nitty grit and get that stuff done so that they can lead you away from heartbreaking situations.
Yes, I couldn't agree more.
And sometimes there's heartbreaking situations that come up that we can't foresee. So the documentation part of the equation here just puts everything out on the table so that we can answer as many possible questions and get around as much of the unknown as we possibly can on the front end. It's wildly important, in my opinion, to get that stuff done so that you can sleep at night knowing that your transaction is on task. Now, sometimes things come up, like what if you're going through the loan process and all of a sudden one of your ratings changes on your mortgages,
right?
Or you have a collection that you didn't know of that pops up. Those things can be worked through. They can be problematic. They can be challenging, and sometimes they can be a little too much to overcome for an actual deal to happen. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. Sometimes it goes that way. But if we get all these other questions answered out of the way and we are focusing on the finish line, the number of things that could come up as a landmine situation or a major speed bump are put to bed.
So, Brad, you kind of went over the bullet points of what does a loan entail. What is the time frame on this? Like we did talk about, okay, are you under a lease obligation or what have you? Let's talk about from the time they have that initial conversation and you tell them, okay, I can help you, but I need you to submit an application. So when they submit the application, hit submit, and let's say they're diligent. Let's say they get things to you when they need to. How long is that process?
Great question. So once I have an application, once I have the needs list completed with regards to, I asked you for these these pieces of documentation. I mean, it's like maybe an afternoon. Like it might take me a few hours max, just depending on my personal workload at that time to get through all that stuff. Because I'm gonna work the application, then I'm gonna go back and match the documents up. I mean, it may take me a matter of hours to put together that to make sure that I've cross-referenced everything and spent some time with the guidelines on a questionable item that's showing up on credit or the way the income works or something like that. I mean, it might take me a day to do it. It doesn't take that long. I'm not weeks and weeks and weeks out or anything like that. It should be a matter of hours or a day, really.
Okay, perfect. So I'm not even going to try to ask the other question. What if they're not so diligent? Because that's going to all depend on them.
Yeah, if you put the application in, I pull credit, you state your income, you state your assets, and I can say, hey, this looks good, then basically at that point we could say you're pre-qualified. With a you're pre-qualified letter, you go to market, your letter says I'm pre-qualified, the seller goes, yeah, that doesn't
Yeah.
help me. I don't feel real great about accepting that offer. And Christa, you as the agent, you might not even want to take them and show them properties at that point, because we haven't been through that process where we've run a desktop decision and used a software package and documented income and documented assets, and the letter that I can then write at that point says, checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. I've looked at all these things. I'm signing my name on it. I've looked at these things. These things are intact. We're going to make it to closing on time.
Well, I will inform you guys out there who are watching this and taking in this information. I won't show you homes without the pre-approval. It's important to me that you are beyond the qualified process. Anybody can qualify. I could qualify you. I have no business qualifying you. You need to be pre-approved and have gone through this process before I'll show you homes. And that's just how I operate. And again, it's all for your benefit, not for mine. It's all about you.
And let's just call that what that is. There's a reason that there's loan officers, and there's a reason that there's realtors.
Mm-hmm.
Realtors don't do loan officers' jobs. Loan officers don't do realtors' jobs.
That's right.
Because you have a specialty. You know how to write a contract. You know how to negotiate things. I'm not going to ever tell a client, well, Christa needs to do this for you. Like,
Right.
we shouldn't be trying to do that for each other. So yeah, your pre-approval needs to stand alone before you're going to actually go make offers and put yourself in the best situation possible.
Exactly. So yeah, if I'm giving you loan advice, I should only be asking you to ask your lender about a loan product or ask about a situation or what have you. It should only be to verify. Hear me and verify, and that's it. Because I am not a loan officer. I don't want to see your loan documents. I don't want to see your income, anything like that. That's Brad's work.
And please bring the questions though, but understand as a consumer, when we say that's a great question for Christa,
right,
or that's a great question for your insurance agent, Tim Andrews, or whomever it is, not for myself or Christa. Take it to the professional that's handling that portion of your solution.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, I think this is a great way to talk about how to get nitty gritty into some of this next week, next Monday. And then Friday, we have Lauren Ramirez joining us. She's been dying to join us. So we're going to have Lauren on. We're going to talk to her about her time in real estate, a couple of moves that she's made, a recent move that she's made. And I'm pretty excited to chit chat with her and see how she benefits you guys and how you can call upon her as well.
That's fantastic. Look forward to talking to you both, and looking forward to next Monday too. We'll kind of turn the next page to now you're market ready. What are we going to do with that? Where does it go from there? So we're going to put these together. So come back and see us next Monday so that you can know the next part of the step in the ladder.
There you go, guys. Thanks so much. Brad's information and my information will be in the show notes. We have at least 16. This should be our 16th episode on YouTube. So guys, we have enough to subscribe to and like. So please do that. Help us out, because we are here to help you out. We're not here just to stroke our own egos. That's definitely not what we're here for. Every time we're on this show, it's to give you some nuggets of information that you can walk away with. So we hope we've been helpful.
Yes, indeed.
Have a great day, and we'll see you guys Friday.